All right, this is the review for our final exam. Um, some of these I will be doing, some of these I won't, simply for the fact is some of them don't need to be done. Number one, which statement is not true? That answer would be A. For part B, which is equal to negative 10, that answer would be B for leave, change, and change. So that answer would be B. For number three, which of the following fractions is the least? For that, just please remember in the negative, the larger the number, the smaller it is. I would probably make these equal to 100. So for here, it would be negative 75 over 100. Here would be negative 20 over 100. Um, here would be negative 50 over 100. And this, if you guys can remember, rounding it would be like negative 67 over 100, something like that. So your answer would be A. Number four, for this one, remember to distribute. Okay, so 4 times x, and then 4 times negative 2, and then plus the 7x. So 4 times x is 4x minus, or 4 times negative 2 is negative 8, and then plus 7x. Combining our 4x and 7x is 11x minus 8, which is C. Okay, our next page. And remember, part A will be, or first section will be without a calculator, as it states. Number 5 is to factor this. I would use the birthday cake method. Okay, would be 6x plus 36. Factor out the 6. So dividing that, I have x plus 6. So 6 times x plus 6, and that would be B. Okay. Our next question. If Stuart has 34 strikes, he averages 2 strikes per game, which would be 2G. What inequality represents at least 61 games or 61 strikes? So it would be at least, which would be greater than or equal to 61. So when I write that out, it would be 34 and then plus 2G is greater than or equal to 61. So that, ladies and gentlemen, which would be A. Okay. For number 7, we have which of the following inequalities has the solution set shown below. The way we can figure this one out, ladies and gentlemen, you can solve the inequality or know that because this is colored in, it eliminates A and B, because when you color it in, it has to be or equal to. The next thing is because it's pointing to our left, it's pointing to the left, and so is this one. Therefore, your answer is C. The other thing that you can do is simply solve the inequality. Okay. Number 8. The restaurant is giving away one of 5 different toys with the children's meal. The toys are randomly given out. Which model could be used to simulate? Number cube would not work. Tossing a coin would not work. Spinning it with 4 equal sections would not work because it has 5. So D would be your answer. Number 9, a school superintendent wants to ask students how much time they spend studying at home. He wants information for the entire school population. Which survey method would produce the best representative? This answer here, ladies and gentlemen, survey every person in the library during 3rd period would not make sense. Survey every 4th person that enters the school in the morning makes sense. And the answer is B. because C, surveying every 10th person that enters Walmart, does not make sense. And surveying all the students on the softball team, again, does not make sense. Number 10, Joe's trying to pick out a pair of shoes to wear. The probability that he picks a pair of sneakers is 2/5. Which statement describes, which statement describes the probability that Joe will pick a pair of sneakers? That is C, unlikely, because it's 2/5. So that equals 0.4, which is unlikely. The greenhouse temperatures at certain times are shown in the graph. Which statement about the graph is true? The temperature of the greenhouse is proportional to the time of day. The temperature of the greenhouse is not proportional to the time of day. The line, if it were extended, would go through the origin. The line is not straight. The answer is B. For number 12, for what is the value of the expression? For here, I need to make this a common denominator, so I would say 2/8 minus 3/8 over 1/4. So here, subtracting this, I get negative 1/8 divided by 1/4. So I would rewrite this as negative 1/8 divided by 1/4. So I would do negative 1/8, leave, keep, change, switch. 4 goes into 4 once, into 8 2 times. And then I would multiply. Opposite signs makes it negative. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. And that answer then would be C. And last, here, if you have $25 in your pocket, okay, you have $25 to spend, you spend $5.25 for shoes for bowling. That leaves you $19.75 to spend on your games. If it's $4 each game, what I would do is I would multiply each of these to figure out how many games you could play. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 4 is 20. Well, I don't have $20 in my pocket, but I do have 16, so A is your answer. For number 14, I would change this into a fraction. So I would say 2/5 divided by negative 45 over 100. And I would do keep, switch, flip. And I would simplify. So 5 goes into 100 20 times. And 5 goes into 24 times. 5 goes into 45 9 times. So my answer is negative. 2 times 4 is 8. 1 times 9 is 9. So my answer is B. My next answer, which expression is equivalent? Well, if I do leave, change, change. So I need 5 plus a positive 6. So the answer is A. So next. Section 2 is with calculator, but again, multiple choice. Here, if I'm looking at a table, I want to know how much Sarah can type in 10 minutes. Well, she can type 38 words in 2 minutes. I want to know how much she can type in a minute. So divide that by 2 is 19. So 19 words in a minute times 10 is 190. So the answer is B. Next, if I divide each one of these, we need to find out which is the better buy and which costs the least per ounce. If I divide each one of these, then I can figure out which one is the least. So when I divide each one of these, for example, the 299 divided by 16, I get 0.186875. Or for here, I get 0.1745. Here I get 0.1946 repeating. And here I get 0.14046.875. So my best brand is Wegmans Brand Club Pack, which is D. Okay. Number 18, it wants to know how many miles per gallon this car can get in a Chevy Cruze. So I am going to divide 300 and 1/2 divided by 10 and 1/4. Again, I can use my calculator for that. And when I do that, my answer is B. Okay, the next question. This one I can do in 2 different ways. It really depends on how you do this. I do it with proportions, but it really depends on you. To find the cost of 9 cans of Coke, I can do a proportion by doing 225 over 6 equaling x over 9. Cross multiplying, it's 6x equals 2025. Dividing both by 6, I get x equals 3.375, which then gives my answer of B. The other thing you can do is take the 225, divide it by 6, and for that we get, let me multiply that please, or just hang on just for a second. I get 0.375. I can take that and multiply that by 9 and get the same answer. So either way would be acceptable. For number 20, you need to be careful. Make sure you're looking at what it says. It says how many people can be expected to speak Spanish, okay? We surveyed 800 people. This is the percent of people, okay? So what we need to do is take that 0.3 or 30, whichever, multiply it by the 800, and we get 240 people, which is D. Okay. So next, with Mackenzie, who wants to buy a backpack that costs $50, the tax is 0.65% on that $50. How much tax will she pay? Well, our P, percent and W, we've got $50. Our tax is 0.065, and I want the tax, not the whole cost. So it's P equals percent times whole. So X equals 0.065 times 50. So she is actually being charged $3.25, which is A. This next one, you can actually substitute in 9 for each of your answers here to get your answer, because it wants to know which is a solution of 9. So if I put 9 in here, 5 times 9 plus 6 equals 10, or 5 times 15, that's not going to work, so we know that's not right. So now we have 2/3 times 9 plus 6, and we need to find out what that equals. We've got 2/3 times 15. Well, 3 goes into 15 5 times, so 2 times 5 is 10. Well, that works. So that answer is B. Okay. Our next question, number 23, it wants to know, based on this data, what is the probability that the next cereal box will contain either red, green, or purple? Well, in that particular case, we've got red, green, and purple. And according to our statement above here, we've got 50 cereal boxes. So I've got 7 plus 8 plus 10 over 50. Well, that's 25 over 50. And since there's no 25 over 50 here, I need to simplify it, which is 1/2. And in that case, 1/2 here, we've got A. So our answer is A. Number 24, to this expression, the product of 2 and 7/5 n plus 1.2, when I multiply this out, I get 2 times 7/5 in my calculator is 2.8 n plus, and then 2 times 1.2 is 2.4, which will give me A. Now the next question, this one you have to be careful. You want to change these from decimals to percents, because in our equations they are decimals. They got to be percents. So I'm going to change these to percents. So this is 125%. This is 90%. So if I subtract 100% from this, I get 25%. If I subtract this 100 from this, I get 10%. So I can automatically eliminate A and B. This 25% is actually over the 100, which means it's an increase. So here I have an increase of 25%, which means C is my answer. Okay, so next, I have that Kate bought 4 sweaters that cost the same amount and 1 skirt that cost $20. The items she bought cost a total of $160 before tax. What was the cost of each sweater? Well, I can take the 160, subtract the $20, so I get 140. Well, if all of the shirts cost the same, I can then divide this by 4. When I do that, I get $35. So my answer is B. Okay. Now Kelsey, she has 20% off the original price of $600, 4% sales tax, and they want the total price of the iPhone. So we've got to find out what that is. So to do that, we've got to, sorry, I had to go put a sign on the door. So we've got P equals percent times W. So we've got 600 times 0.88, and X, because it's 20% off. So taking it off, the 100 off, or the 20% off the 100. So P equals percent times whole. So X equals 0.8 times 600. So that's going to give me 480. And then I've got P equals percent times whole. So 480 And I'm going to multiply that by 1.04 times x because I have to add on that sales tax. So P equals percent times whole. So x equals 1.04 times the 480, which is going to give me the 499.20 that I'm looking for, which is A. Okay. Next, number 28 is negative 2 times 3x and negative 2 times negative 4, and then we are subtracting 6x. So we have negative 6x plus 8 minus 6x. So negative 6x minus 6x is a negative 12x plus 8, which will give me D. Next, it says at what point on the graph represents the unit rate? That is 1, or B, 1 comma 15. And finally, number 30 here. The population, it wants to know what is the percent increase in the population from this year to 10 years ago. So we subtract the 4,000 minus the 3,280, which is 720. So P equals, percent equals, W equals. So the W is the 3,280. Our percent we are looking for, we get 720. So P equals percent and W. So we've got 720 equals X times 3,280, sorry. So divide both sides by 3,280. So X is going to equal 0.21951 and some numbers. And I really don't need the rest of the numbers because when I'm looking right here and I'm moving this as the percent, it's 21.9, which when I round it is C at 22%. So now the rest of this is the extended response. So if I'm looking at both graphs, it says for each company, explain whether the relationship between the cost and the number of hours is proportional. There is a proportional relationship. Identify the unit rate. Use specific features from the graph to support your answer. So for company A, it is not proportional. It is a straight line. But does not go through the origin. Okay. Company B is proportional. It forms a straight line. And goes through the origin. The unit rate is $10. For every hour of electricity. Okay. Next, Carmine paid an electrician X dollars per hour for an 8-hour job plus $160 for parts. The total job was at least $480. Write, solve, and check an inequality that can be used to determine how much the electrician charged per hour. Make sure to define your variables. So let X equal dollar per hour. Okay, so now we have 8X plus 160 is greater than or equal to $480. So subtract 160 from each side. 8X is greater than or equal to 320. So divide both sides by 8. So X is greater than or equal to $40 per hour. So to check it, we have 8X plus 160 is greater than or equal to 480. So 8 times, let's go with 50 plus 160 is greater than or equal to 480. So 400 plus 160 is greater than or equal to 480. So 560 is greater than or equal to 480. And that checks. So next. Members of a baseball team raised $975 to go to a tournament. They rented a bus for $325 and budgeted $32.50 per player for meals. They will spend all the money they raised. Write, solve, and check an equation that models this situation and could be used to determine the number of players the team could bring to the tournament. So we have 32.50 P plus 325 equals $975. So subtract 325 from both sides. We have 32.50 P equals 650. Divide both sides by 32.5. And P equals 20 players. Check this. We have 32.50 P plus 325 equals 975. And 32.50 times 20 plus 325 equals 975. So we have 650 plus 325 equals 975. 975 equals 975. Okay. So next, we have the table below shows the prices of different numbers of cards on a website. For each order, the website applies a 5.4% sales tax to the price of the cards. If the person orders 60 cards or more, they receive a 5% discount. Based on the information in the table, what will the total cost for an order of 100 cards? Okay, so we have P, percent, and W. And let me move this up now. So we have x equals 0.95 times 65. We have p equals percent times whole. So x equals 0.95 times 65, which equals 61.75. So then we've got tax. So p equals percent times whole. So 61.75 times 1.054, and x. So p equals percent times whole. X equals 1.054. So 61.75. So equals 65.0845 or 65.08. Now last we've got to simplify this expression. We have 5x. We have plus 3 times x. So plus 3 times x. Plus 3 times negative 3y. Plus 3 times negative 3y. Positive 1/4 times 8x. Positive 1/4 times negative 4y. Okay. So now putting this together, we've got 5x. 3 times x is a positive 3x. Positive 3 times negative 3 is a negative 9y. Positive 1/4 times 8 is a positive 2x. Positive 1/4 times a negative 4 is a negative 1y. So putting this together, we have 8x minus 9y plus 2x minus 1y. So 8x plus 2x is 10x. Negative 9 plus a negative 1 is a negative 10y. Now, to factor this, birthday cake method or box method, either one. Factor out the 10, which is my greatest common factor. 10 goes into 10, 1, bring up my x. 10 goes into negative 10, negative 1, bring up my y. Nothing goes into my 1s. So remember, the top of my cake is what goes in the parentheses. So 1x minus 1y. My greatest common factor is 10, and that goes outside my parenthesis. And that is our review.